All right.
So what do you think of the role of the mind? Do you think it's no mind at all, or the mind is used as a
The mind is used.
what we're doing?
The mind is used in like what Master Jose told us, right? So we have in Tai Chi we have the yin and the yang, right? The substantial and the insubstantial. So the monkey mind is substantial. It's
Yeah.
actually like if you go by like traditional, maybe like even Hindu cosmology, right? Mind actually is subtle matter, so it's substantial, and the spiritual
Yeah.
mind or the awareness is insubstantial. So when we apply, the role of the mind is such that it acts as a counterbalance to the awareness or the yi, intention.
Yeah, because remember we were talking about you. You means it's mind intention, but it's not the local mind.
It's your spiritual mind. You know, it's
Yeah.
your spirit is moving in. So when you guide your spirit in a particular direction, and your mind has to act as the opposite.
Yeah.
To kind of like this, you know, when you're pulling a bow,
Yeah.
you're kind of the bow string is your mind, and the arrow is your spiritual mind.
You need both.
Yeah. So that yin and yang needs to be there for things to happen.
That's for us to, have the energy in the physical. We need both.
Yeah, and the physical moves because of the directionality of your mind. The mind is, or spiritual mind is going in a particular direction. So in a way, like when your monkey mind is pulling back and release, that's when the energy goes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's as if you're using, because our spiritual mind is in a different plane, and our physical mind is here. So you have to, in a way, have both of them on the same page. And if
and it's not even like, I would call it even a plane, like different plane. I would think of it more like it's like the cause, the effect of a particular, like, okay, so if you think about it like you're loading up a bow,
yeah,
right? And as you're pulling back, the pulling back is your mind, your monkey mind, but your aim is there. That's your spiritual mind. And when you release here, you let go. That makes the arrow fly, right? So it's like the release of your monkey mind is what's making the energy fly.
Oh, okay, now, yeah.
I think the local mind, which tends to be analytical, is what's stalling us.
Yeah, like think about it this way: like when you got to a point where you wanted to do that side power, as soon as your hand touched my body, your mind blocked it because you were thinking. So that's another thing that like George used to tell us about Master Liao saying is not occupied, not blocked. So if your mind is occupied, your energy is blocked. So if you want to unblock your energy, your mind needs to be released. It can't be occupied as in like obsessing with something or getting stuck on something.
Yeah.
So if your mind is empty, energy flows.
It's blocking the flow of the energy.
And there's a lot of misconception about what an empty mind is. Empty mind doesn't mean no thinking. Empty mind means the mind that does not grasp onto things. So normally what do we do? We look at something, we are always grasping onto things. Like, oh, this is a water bottle, this is a bottle, right? Or that's a tree, or this is a bench, this is you, right?
Yeah.
You identify
and you're always like, it's even if a fraction of a second, there's this grasping that happens.
Yeah.
Where you're basically taking your memory. Like, okay, so how do you even recognize something, right? When you see something, you go subconsciously, you're going and grabbing onto what's stored in your storehouse, memory storehouse, or like your hard disk.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, this shape, my eyes are seeing this. The mind will say, oh, this is a bottle. But it happens so fast that it's involuntary.
Yeah.
But that's also a grasping in a way. So non-grasping mind means that it just comes and goes in your field, and you don't pay any attention to it. Like it comes, let it go.
Or like if in a situation where it becomes like a mental chess, right? You know, like you're playing chess. Like, well, if I go this way, I go this way. You're now calculating. You don't want to get into that.
No.
Because what's happening is that's blocking your energy.
Because you're not using your energy anymore. You're
letting it. You have to allow the energy just to flow through.
Yeah. Because that when you're calculating, you're not in the moment. You're not aware.
Yeah, because your mind is occupied, right?
It's like your mind is reviewing everything.
Yeah, and so what's like the function of like going and pulling from your memory storehouse, right? That means that you're no longer in the present moment. You're going and looking, trying to correlate with something that's already impressions that are stored.
Yeah.
So, like if you in the Hindu tradition, right, the mind is actually a complex of 4 components. So one is, it's called the manas. The manas is the field of thought objects, right? So every thought is an object, right?
Yeah.
Like the mind, it's basically a field of constantly flowing objects in your consciousness, in your awareness. And then you have something called as chitta. Chitta is basically the storehouse of impressions. So it's memories, emotions, feelings, whatever you've acquired over your period of your life, that is stored in your chitta. So that's like your cloud, let's say cloud storage. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have something called ahankara. Ahankara means ego. And what's the role of the ego? The role of the ego is that it will apply identity on things. So let's say you become a great chef. Your ego will identify with that person, that trait of yours, that characteristic of yours, and say, I am a great chef. Or you're an artist, I am an artist. You're a musician, I am a musician. Right? It's like that, I am a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a friend. Like that,
Yeah.
So all of these things, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a whatever, teacher,
role playing,
right? We identify our identity, like the ego's role is to apply that, whatever is that characteristic, to us as an identity. So
but that's not us.
That's not the real thing. That's just a personality. It's like a set of conditions that have given rise to a particular behavior pattern, right?
Yeah.
It's like in the theater, you're playing a role.
Correct. Yeah. So there's this guy called Rupert Spira who talks about this a lot. He says, think about you as John Smith playing King Lear in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
You're
quote
just
with
playing
Shakespeare, right?
because of the scenario and everyone. You're just playing that.
You're playing a role,
Yeah.
right?
What is that quote?
But if
By
everyone,
Shakespeare, this world is a stage,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
because everyone has a role to play, then you have that ego and that label.
Correct.
But if everyone was hypothetically isolated in their own world, there's no role. There's no I am this.
Right.
You were just existing.
Correct.
Yeah, but if a monkey comes along and says, "What are you guys talking about, monkey mind?"
Okay, so we have the manas, the chitta, the ahankara, and the fourth one is called. Why am I drawing a blank here? It's your intellect, basically. Okay. So the intellect, what does the intellect do? It analyzes, it rationalizes.
You put that in the 4 points.
Yeah, no, this stuff is like a lot of people have talked about it. So this is this thing, okay? No, the intellect is called buddhi. I don't know why I was drawing a blank. Buddhi, yeah.
It's like from the Buddhi, right?
So buddhi means intellect, and Buddha is the one whose intellect who's awakened, right? So, but that's your, like, okay, if you say 2 plus 2, think 2 plus 2.
Yeah.
That's your buddhi, that's your intellect, right? So all these 4, they don't have their own existence. They are a function of this particular organism that we are, right?
You know
What lights these up is our awareness, our consciousness.
Exactly.
So, when in the context of Tai Chi, the spiritual mind is our awareness, and the monkey mind is this complex of,
it occurs to me.
the stream of thoughts, objects, storehouse of impressions and memories, this self-identifier, it's called the I maker, and your intellect. That is what goes back here. And your awareness is pointed in that direction. So when you release from here, your energy flies there.
So having that whole connection and awareness is
Yeah.
See, the Filipino word that we got from the Indians is buddhi, what means
Conscience, okay.
But it's an Indian word.
Yes.
It became Tagalog, the Filipino. Buddhi. Buddhi, the same one, right?
The whole, like the Southeast Asia is like one continuous family.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Like I believe that you guys, like the Southeast Asia are Nagas, you know.
The Naga people. With the snake.
You read my book, right?
Oh yeah.
So one of the first people were the Nagas.
With the Naga.
That's why we notice a lot in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia. Like, oh, they're all connected.
Yeah, man. So what were we talking about now?
The mind.
Yeah, the role of the mind. So that's what the mind's role is, you know. So like, and it seems more complex than it is. Initially, it is complex, right? Because you have to first be able to discern between your spiritual mind and your monkey mind. But once that discernment is there, then it's a matter of refining it, you know, like being able to so that's another thing in Tai Chi. They say like you need to clearly separate substantial and insubstantial. But what is substantial, what is insubstantial at a gross level, you know? Ice is substantial, water is insubstantial. Water is substantial, vapor is insubstantial. So it's like always this like series of, you know, always like relative things happening, change. So in the same way, those are physical things, right? Like, you know, something where you're giving strength is substantial, when you release the strength is insubstantial. Open is insubstantial, closed is substantial, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the mind also, that substantiality and insubstantiality of the mind is that this monkey mind is substantial, the spiritual mind is insubstantial. So being able to discern the two, I think, is key for at least the way we are doing, like what Master Buddha is teaching us.
That's the sensitivity and awareness.
Yeah.
Another tidbit, in Greek, I believe, there is no distinction between mind and body. The word soma, body, is also the mind. So when we say, oh, it says you're doing physical, but the body is not separate from the mind.
Yeah, it's a construct of our mind itself, you know.
Right.
Like this mind-body split happened because of Descartes, right? The French guy, when he said "cogito ergo sum," means I think, therefore I am. But he misunderstood. His analysis was wrong.
Yeah.
It's not that he is because he thinks, right?
You already are.
You are.
We
That's
are.
why
That's
you
why
can
we
think.
think.
But he's trying to like compartmentalize that an existence and just, you know, it can't be.
Man, that's why when you talk about the mind, it touches everything, you know, and it depends on how you use the word mind. In the Western terminology, when you say the mind, it's exclusively, just like you said, the intellect.
Yeah, no,
In the Western-
in the Western concept, the mind is basically, in the West, there is no, like, consciousness and mind are used interchangeably. So there is no distinction between mind and consciousness, it's because of lack of clarity. If the clarity was there, then they would clearly know, like, okay, so, you know, that this is an exercise that we do in Advaita Vedanta, okay? You say, Hold out your hand like this in front of you. Say, are you looking at your hand? You're looking at your hand, right?
Yeah.
Is your hand looking at you? No, it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're looking at your hands, and what sees the hand? My eyes see the hand,
Yeah.
right? Now close your eyes. You know that the eyes are closed. Now open your eyes. You know that the eyes are open. So what knows that the eye is closed and the eye is open? Your mind knows it, right? Now make an image of your hand in your mind. Then you know something knows that there is that image of that hand in your mind. Think 2 plus 2.
4.
Something knows that the 2 plus 2 is 4, right?
Yeah.
So clearly, your mind, there's a separation between your mind and your body. There's a separation between something else and your mind and your intellect. So what is that? What is it that knows?
That's the spirit.
That's your consciousness,
The consciousness.
right?
The eye.
The eye.
So
Who's the eye?
in a fraction of a second, without thinking, can you tell me who you are? Can you tell me? Without thinking, not a single thought should come.
I mean.
You are the only thing you know is you are, right? I am. So what knows that you are? That I am, something knows that you are. That is consciousness, and that is ever present everywhere. So that's this process. I'm kind of like improvising it a little bit, but there's an entire subject of study called Drik, Drsya, Viveka in Vedanta, in which you repeatedly go through it till you kind of very clearly are aware of what your consciousness is.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Who is watching?
It's not that hard, right? I mean, we walk through that step. What happens is in our everyday life we forget that,
Yeah.
and our mind goes and basically just kind of mixes with the world.
In a way, it's like a tunnel vision.
It's like when you're looking at him, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? No, look. Now, who's doing the looking? Who knows? And who's watching
You looking at me.
that looking at him?
That's the process. Like, who is the
Yeah.
knower, right? Like in the Daoism, there's this saying, right, that the 5 sense, 5 tastes dull the tongue, the 5 sounds dull the ear, the 5 colors dull the eye, right? What does it mean? Means that when our mind, how do we interact with this world, right? It's through our senses and our mind together. So if your mind is scattered with all these phenomenal things that are happening in the world, it actually it obscures your true nature, your consciousness, because the mind is gone and merged with everything in the world. So like Tai Chi is a process of one of the ways in which you can kind of pull back. So you're no longer out in the world, you're slowly falling back inward into yourself, and you come back to this point of stillness and presence, right? And that's how you separate the world from your true nature.
Yeah.
So that's step one. You got to separate the world from the true nature. Like I think whenever, like when I was doing Tai Chi, for the first, after 3-4 years, what happened is I would constantly be in this, something is observing me doing Tai Chi, every thought that's happening while I'm doing Tai Chi, right? And then it got to a point where something is constantly observing everything that's happening all around, even when I'm not doing Tai Chi.
It's like somebody's watching.
Yeah, I was
you,
like, who the heck? Who
Yeah.
is it? What is it that's watching? Because I know I used to think I'm the body, I'm the mind, and I'm seeing that there's something that's aware of this body and the mind. So it can't be either the body or the mind, right? And that was the source of great confusion.
Remember that phenomena? Well, it's not phenomena, but when I was watching TV with your mom, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I'm looking at myself, looking at your mom, I'm watching TV. Then I'm looking at the one watching me, just like looking at each other. It's like, whoa. It's like a very surreal thing because you're observing.
You're becoming like self-aware. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being aware of being aware.
In a way, it's like you're like blocking off your local mind. You're observing from purely the spiritual mind.
Correct. So like then when I went to Master Jose, and he did that thing, right? And then from that point, that it was the spiritual mind and the monkey mind were kind of mixed up. There was like a clear cut, and the spiritual mind separated and the monkey mind separated. Actually, they're not separate, but it's just the experiential thing, right? So
Momentarily you experience.
no, and that clarity arises that oh, this is what it means. The difference between monkey mind and spiritual mind. The spiritual mind is that which knows, and the monkey mind is that which does. So, in one of the Vedanta texts, there's this classic verse. It says, two birds sitting on a branch, one busy eating, the other observes. So that's what it is. You know. So, like Tai Chi is the process of falling back into ourself, and becoming aware of what we truly are. The inner guru. Because the real guru is always inside. It's your true nature. And it's not like your true nature and my true nature and his true nature are different. It's the same. So we can call it Tao if you want, right? Or we can call it Brahman or Atman or God.
So we're all existing through the Tao. So
It's like it's not like the Tao is everything. The Tao is just one.
Yeah.
It's a non-dual. It's not even one. It's non-dual. It's beyond duality.
You know, when I look at
because everything is one.
When we used to have our dog passed on, his name is Gucci. When I look at the eyes of the dog and the dog is looking at me, you're no longer thinking of it's a dog because it's like, wow, she's looking at me as a conscious being, but then it's no longer, who is this being?
Inside, looking at
Yeah, and it's looking at me and it knows.
Right.
And it's looking back. And you know that it's no longer just, oh, I'm the master, you're the dog kind of thing, you know, this is an instant connection.
Yeah.
That you are not separate from the dog.
Well, that's the awareness. Everything in the universe is the same,
Yeah.
right?
We are the dog. We are this leaf. We are the, you know.
See, like in the Yoga Sutras, right? They say that there are three forms of knowledge. Okay, one is direct experience. Okay, that you see something. Okay, it's like you see there's a fire burning. You see it, so you know it's fire. And then the other is intuition. You say you see smoke, so intuitively you know that there must be a fire somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be like, hey, I say, hey, Mikey, did you see that fire over there? I say, oh, I didn't know that. I say, yeah, there was a fire over there, man. And so that's the testimony of a reliable witness. Okay, so these are the three forms of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
All of which is hinged on what? Your consciousness, right? If you're not conscious, none of this matters.
No.
So, like this whole, like the people will say, oh, you know, my consciousness is separate from your consciousness. How do you know? Only you know that consciousness, because of consciousness, you're able to know anything.
Yeah.
So, if you were not conscious, none of it mattered, right? But that consciousness cannot have any individual characteristics. What is to say that, you know, this air is what's in your lungs is your air, and what's in your lungs is your air, and what's in my lungs is my air.
Yeah.
It's air.
But what
That's
is
how it
even
is,
that
you know.
notion of ownership, like this is my body, you know, like
Yeah, that's the ego,
You
right?
know,
So the
yeah.
ego is identifying with this thing, this matrix that we're carrying around, right?
Yeah.
In this localized instance of our consciousness, which is our mind, and say, oh, this is my body. This is the space that separates you and me, you know. And if we come too close, then we get, oh, that's, you know, that's uncomfortable, right? But it really is, there is no separation.
No.
ultimately, yeah.
Because you are in my awareness, I am in your awareness. When we say my and yours, it's also we are in awareness. So there is no separation. So that's how the Tai Chi that we do works, right? I'm kind of making a long story out of it, but really, like, how is it that we are able to affect somebody, quote unquote, separate from us by thinking? Right, by using the spiritual mind and the monkey mind, that duality of opposites, is because there is no separation really. We are really one.
Yeah.
It's just manifest, like, you know, like
One is not here.
two waves in an ocean kind of thing, you know. So
Yeah.
I said one is not here.
one is not here. Yeah, where is Swan, by the way? I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. Those people know who the hell is one?
So that was another question somebody asked, like, does Tai Chi work on non-Taichi
One
people?
is another brother of ours.
So does Tai Chi work on non-Taichi people?
Yeah, we remember we were talking about from the last video the inanimate object, like, you know, like, of course I can push this physically, right? But how can I affect this with energy? Yeah, but I mean that takes a lot of. I don't want to say, you know, I mean, if you get to the point where you can affect this and let it vibrate, that's talking about a different thing.
No, I think the thing is, like, okay, if you are able to move a living being, that's different from moving an inanimate object. You can move, you can, like, you know, use your strength and use leverage and things like that to move any object.
Yeah.
But to be able to move a living object, your mind needs to connect to that person's mind.
Yeah.
Your energy needs to connect to that person's energy, right?
So would people say that, oh, that's placebo, brainwashing, and then you connect to his mind and affect his mind? Yes, there is such thing.
Hypnosis and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
hypnosis, right? But we're not doing hypnosis. We're not like move and then you move because I'm influencing your mind to move. Maybe that's part of Tai Chi too. Who knows? But I'm not saying, you know.
Right. But we are not working on that
we're
at
not.
all, because what's happening is in that
Yeah.
opposition of monkey mind and
actual
spiritual
energy.
mind,
Right.
there's this effect of it.
But even if the mind was able to make you mentally have some experience where, oh, the explosion or that feeling, even then that would be still very
Something, right?
powerful. The
Right.
fact that you can affect the mind to such an
No, the
effect.
thing is, like, the question a lot of people ask, and this the one character keeps posting this, and then I keep deleting the post. Is, will this work on a non-Taichi person? You know,
Yeah.
so of course it'll work on a non-Taichi person,
Yeah.
right? Why will it not work? It's not like we are kind of.
Well, there's
It's
different
not like we are
levels of it,
deluding.
right?
I'm not like tricking you into believing that it works, so that's why it works.
No.
You feel the effect, that's why you
Yeah.
move, right?
Yeah, that's why we, that's why we're always,
Well, that's why they
trying
say,
to test
well,
it.
Tai Chi doesn't work because whatever, fill in the blank. So I guess it depends on how you define what Tai Chi is. Some people, when they say Tai Chi, is some kind of
Dance.
hocus pocus, right? Like,
Dance.
but whether you move somebody physically or not, it's still part of Tai Chi no matter what.
Yeah.
So Tai Chi doesn't mean there's non-existence of physical interaction. it's all part of us. But then using biomechanics to influence the other is not what we're trying to go for.
That's like low level stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
And it's not low level as in it's not that it's not valid. It's valid,
Yeah.
but it's not the.
Because like external people would be challenging us, like, oh, I'm gonna challenge them.
See, and the other thing is like, okay, so Tai Chi, the way we learn it is not for fighting. It's a self-development, self-cultivation tool, right? So you're doing it to precisely be able to separate your true nature from being deluded into thinking that it's this world and it's
and
in this
having that
world.
awareness through the meditation, the Tai Chi, and
It's akin to being in the arts, right? Like let's say visual arts. When you say, oh, if you can draw something realistic, do you think that is the goal?
That's art.
That's art. So it's like saying, oh, if you can fight physically, and then that's fighting. So that's, to me, that's in a way parallel to that, But making art is not imitating something realistically to make it art.
well, that's the reason why the energy is so. That's why these topics are so confusing to many people. Is because it's not from a physical or monkey mind observation. It's beyond that.
Correct.
That's why we're always practicing it and trying to figure out, and why these questions are still valid is because it's not from the physical.
Right. It's not from the mundane world, right?
Right.
This basically is pointing to something deeper,
Every
something more profound, right?
every knowledge skill has its own merit, right? Whether you're doing kung fu, whatever, boxing, they're all good. But we're trying. I think we need to clarify also. We're not like competing with others, and what we're trying to learn is how do you use in a non-physical way, the self-development.
In a non-confrontational way. It's still there's a physical element to it, right? When we're pushing hands and doing these drills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
But
what
it's and other thing that happens as part of doing this is it basically deactivates your fight or flight response. So this adrenaline dump will not happen. Like even if we are put in a real situation, hardly ever react in that way. Like not react, you'll act based on what the conditions are, but you're not going to jump and run away or go and fight with somebody, right? You're not going to do that. It's just let it
because
come.
the challenge for us is like if it's the real thing, we don't know if we're gonna succumb to physical thing. That's the challenge. Is we can
be connected automatically.
So and if you think about it, like I was watching one of Master Liao's videos that he says, okay, so there are in normal martial arts you have what are the three characteristics that determine whether you win or lose? Strength, speed, and what's the other one?
strength, speed, quickness,
And agility, right? Strength, speed, and agility. So as you're growing older, you are definitely going to be stronger, more agile, and quicker than the two of us, right? So what in a conventional fighting or martial arts, as you age, your capacity diminishes. And at one point, you will not barely be functional as a martial artist anymore. Whereas in internal arts, we kind of work to eliminate the role of the strength, speed, and agility in what we do.
So instead of wearing out all of our physical gears,
and it's not adrenaline based.
Correct.
It's not aggression based. It's not. Like it's not based on willpower, because most people think like, this is Tai Chi.
Well, because the
willing
energy
your way,
doesn't-
right?
Yeah, that's the wrong way of doing it.
Right,
It's the empty way is the way of non-interference, the way of like non-action.
Because energy doesn't come from more effort physically, meaning, I tensed more or I willed it more.
You remember we talked about not occupied, not blocked? That's what it is. If you're putting your will into something and like trying to force it, your mind is occupied, your energy is blocked.
Because you're not using that, you're using your physical.
In fact, sometimes, or most oftentimes, the more when you lose interest in fighting, that's when
the real capability arises. It manifests. That's what that even Master also said that, right?
Yeah.
So when everybody wants to do it so that they develop power, but when they give up the lust for power is when the real power develops, And the same thing in the spiritual world too. It's like everybody wants like realization and enlightenment and blah blah blah. As soon as you give up is when the true insights start appearing. Because as long as you're trying, you're blocking. You're kind of locking your mind up.
In the act of trying.
As soon as you let go, you become from a grasping mind to a non-grasping mind. And then you can see.
Because our mind likes to look for a method. Our mind likes to try to look, how do you ABC?
Correct.
That's the Wu way, right?
And it's not our fault because that's how we've been brought up in this world, right? Like everything, you basically have to look at and categorize. Like say from the time of cavemen, right? So, or animals, even before cavemen, as animals, right? You look at what is safe, what is not safe. Is there danger? Is there no danger? So you go from this very like survivalistic kind of framework into when we became human beings.
Yeah.
You start looking at other your what do you call it? The dimensions of categorization became more, right? So it was not just safe, not safe. It was also me and others, mine and not mine.
Yeah.
And then it goes like it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. So then suddenly you have like thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of categories of things that you're constantly having to kind of select. What's this? You let go. Whatever is. Whatever is not is not.
Like when you brought me to that concert with the jazz.
Oh, with John McLaughlin?
Yeah. It's like no mind, but they have the skills and all that. But it's like wow, it's like so organic. Everybody
and they're just improvising right there, and.
It's like formless,
I say when John McLaughlin is playing the guitar, his eyes kind of roll up in his, like he's almost like he's meditating actually, and something flows through him, and he's playing in the way he is,
The people in the back, they were like getting high. We're already getting high from the music.
Yeah.
We're not advocating.
Don't do drugs.
No ayahuasca thing. No, but even drugs, right? That's another topic. What do drugs do? Like, it liberates us from.
Yeah, and like the drug, what these like hallucinogenics and stuff like that, what they do is they loosen your grasp of your mind.
Right.
So you temporarily go into this no mind state.
Yeah. But so basically, it tries to cut off your
attachment to the world.
And that's why
it's psychedelic.
Yeah.
But the problem is it destroys your physical mind.
Exactly.
Yes, you will see everything, but the problem is you're, destroying yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do it in a very controlled manner, like you go and with an actual shaman who knows what they're doing, and you do an ayahuasca ceremony, or you do a peyote or something, psilocybin or something, right? That will give you insights for sure, but that is just the starting of your journey then. And it's not meant for everyone.
That's not the end of it.
It's not meant for anyone. Typically, those kind of things are meant for the most stubborn materialists. Like people who absolutely have no room for, like nature.
They're like,
they're stuck in this materialistic, mindset. So
and need something to like.
All right, I think we have someone. Hello. We're leaving now, okay? Bye.